Before coal, humanity burned forests to survive the cold. From the misty woods of Scandinavia to the mountains of Japan, slow smoke curled into the winter air, the breath of life itself. Hidden deep in the forest, a lone charcoal burner watched over his mound of earth and fire, coaxing wood to die without burning. No machines, no metal furnaces, only patience, wind, and instinct. Charcoal was not just fuel, it was the quiet art of controlling destruction. In the medieval world, charcoal was more than just blackened wood, it was survival itself. Before the rise of coal mines or gas lamps, every household, monastery and castle depended on it to endure the long, bitter winters. Firewood could heat a small hut, but it burned too quickly and filled the air with smoke. Charcoal, however, offered steady warmth and a cleaner flame, burning hotter and longer. Its value stretched far beyond domestic comfort. Blacksmiths relied on it to forge swords, armour and farming tools. Potters used it to fire their kilns, and cooks preferred it for its even heat. In places like Persia, England and Japan, entire economies were built around the trade of charcoal. Merchants carried it in sacks through mountain passes, and villages near forests became vital suppliers for nearby towns. In an age before industry, charcoal linked nature and civilization. It was the bridge between forest and furnace, between the living and the crafted. Without it, iron could not be shaped, bread could not be baked, and cities would have frozen in silence. Across continents, from the fjords of Norway to the rice fields of Kyoto, the faint grey smoke rising above the trees was a universal sign. Someone was keeping the fire alive. Every piece of charcoal began as a tree carefully chosen by skilled hands. The charcoal burner was both a craftsman and a guardian of the forest. He knew which woods held the right spirit for the fire. Hardwoods, oak, ash, chestnut or cherry, burned slowly and yielded dense, lasting charcoal. In Japan, red and white oak were prized for creating binchotan, a form so pure it could sing when struck. Nothing was wasted. Branches too thin for planks became fuel, and every log was cut to precise lengths to stack evenly inside the kiln. In medieval Europe, forest was sacred and tightly regulated. Woodcutters required permission from lords or abbots, and taking more than one's share could mean punishment or exile. The choice of wood was almost a ritual. Burners believed each tree carried a spirit that resisted or welcomed transformation. A tree too young would crumble, one too old would yield brittle ash. To make good charcoal was to understand the forest's rhythm, to listen to how sap, wind and age shaped each log. Long before the word sustainability existed, these quiet labourers practiced it instinctively, taking only what could grow back, knowing that the warmth of winter depended on the patience of summer. Long before the first spark was lit, the charcoal burner prepared his stage, a mound, a pit, or a dome that would cradle both life and death. There were two main types of kilns in the medieval world, the earth pit and the mound kiln. In Europe, mound kilns were most common. The burner stacked the wood carefully into a tall cone-shaped pile, sometimes over 3 meters high. Every log was placed so that air could move between them, but never too freely. Once the pile was complete, he covered it with layers of straw, moss and damp earth until no flame could escape. The entire structure became a breathing organism, sealed except for small air vents that acted as lungs. Across the world, in Persia and China, charcoal makers preferred earth pits or dome-shaped clay kilns. These could retain heat longer and protect the process from harsh winds or rain. The goal was simple but exacting, to burn the wood without letting it burn away. Too much air and the fire would devour everything, too little and it would suffocate. The success of the kiln depended entirely on balance. In that moment between light and shadow, destruction and creation, the charcoal burner shaped nature into fuel. Lighting the mound was a ritual of precision. The fire could be kindled from the top or the base, depending on tradition. As the flames began to spread through the pile, the burner adjusted the vents, opening one, closing another, guiding the fire's breath as if tending a living heart. For days and nights, he remained nearby, sleeping in a rough hut beside the kiln, his senses trained to the smallest sound. A faint crackle might mean the wood was burning too fast. A shift in the colour of smoke told him if the heat was right. The smoke itself was a language. White meant moisture, yellow meant sap, blue-grey meant carbonization. The charcoal burner could not leave his post. One gust of wind or a careless spark could ruin a week's work, At night, he watched the mound glow faintly through the soil, a dull red heartbeat under the earth. It was said that an experienced burner could hear, when the charcoal was ready, the sound of the wood turning hollow. Controlling that breath between flame and ash was not science but instinct, passed down through centuries and the art of fire tamed without flame. Inside the sealed mound, the transformation was silent but immense. Temperatures reached between 400 and 600 degrees Celsius, yet there was no open flame, only heat, pressure, and time. In this low-oxygen world, the wood began to decompose without truly burning. Moisture escaped first as steam, followed by tar and volatile gases. What remained was pure carbon, the essence of fire itself. This process, known today as pyrolysis, was an early form of natural chemistry long before the term existed. Medieval charcoal burners understood none of the chemical equations, yet they knew exactly what to do. They could sense the stages of transformation through smell, colour, and sound. If the smoke turned pale blue, they knew the wood was nearly ready. If it darkened suddenly, air had leaked in, a sign of danger. In Japan, the makers of Binchotan learned to perfect this balance, creating charcoal that burned with almost no smoke and produced an intense, steady heat. In Europe, blacksmiths demanded dense, metallic-sounding charcoal that could fuel their forges. Despite oceans apart, both East and West followed the same ancient principle: feed the fire just enough to change, not destroy. The science of charcoal was a dialogue with the elements: air, earth, fire, and time. To fail meant ash, to succeed meant survival. When the charcoal was finally cooked, the mound had to rest. The burner sealed every vent with earth, cutting off the fire's last breath. Then came silence. 2 or 3 days of waiting as the mound cooled slowly from within. Patience was everything. Opening too soon meant disaster. The sudden rush of oxygen could ignite the hot charcoal and reduce it to grey dust. When the time was right, the burner uncovered the mound carefully, revealing the treasure inside. Glossy black lumps, light in the hand yet ringing with a metallic tone when struck. Each piece was fragile, shimmering faintly under sunlight, like obsidian carved from air. The charcoal was shoveled into baskets or wooden carts, then dusted with sand or ash to keep stray sparks from reigniting. To an outsider it might have looked like mere soot, but to those who knew, it was wealth, the winter's warmth, the black heart of the forge, the invisible foundation of every meal and every weapon. As the smoke faded, the forest exhaled. What was once wood had become a quiet miracle, a memory of flame preserved in black. Once harvested, charcoal travelled from the forest to every corner of medieval life. In noble manors, monasteries, and humble cottages alike, it became the silent heart of warmth. Unlike raw wood, it burned with a gentle steadiness. No smoke, no sparks, only a soft red glow that whispered of endurance. In Europe, it fueled great stone hearths that warmed entire halls through endless winters. In monasteries, it heated refectories where monks copied manuscripts under candlelight. Across Asia, charcoal found its own forms. In Japan, the hibachi, a ceramic brazier, held embers that glowed through the day, while the kotatsu table, draped in cloth, captured its heat to comfort families on cold nights. In Persia and the Ottoman lands, mangal braziers of brass or clay provided both fire for cooking and gentle warmth for evening gatherings. Even in war, charcoal had its uses. Soldiers carried small clay stoves fueled by it to heat water or cook in silence, without smoke revealing their camp. The same fire that forged swords also boiled tea and baked bread. Charcoal became more than fuel. It was a companion through darkness. Its light was modest, its warmth faithful. In every culture, it symbolized a kind of peace, a fire that did not rage, but endured. The life of a charcoal burner was a world apart, half craft, half exile. They lived deep in the forest, where smoke curled like ghosts through the trees. Their huts were simple, built from branches and earth, close to their mounds so they could watch them night and day. The work was dangerous and lonely. The air around the kilns was thin, filled with carbon fumes that could suffocate the careless. Beneath the soil, hidden fires sometimes smouldered unseen, ready to erupt without warning. Yet despite the hardship, these forest dwellers held quiet pride. They were the unseen lifeline of kingdoms. the ones who kept cities warm and blacksmiths working. In many cultures, people regarded them with a mix of fear and reverence. Their faces were always darkened by soot. Their clothes smelled of smoke. Some believed they spoke the language of fire itself. Legends called them the keepers of the world's flame. When winter came, villages waited for their return. Carts of black gold rolled out of the forest, bringing life to those who would never know the names of the men behind it. Hidden in solitude, the charcoal burner gave warmth to all, a humble guardian of humanity's most ancient fire. Though every civilization shared the same goal, to master fire without letting it consume, the ways they did so varied across continents. In medieval Europe, the mound kiln dominated the landscape. Built above ground, it could process tons of wood at once, producing enough charcoal to supply cities, blacksmith forges, and armies. It was an operation of scale, efficiency, and survival. In the Middle East, the technique evolved differently. Craftsmen dug deep earth pits that shielded the process from desert winds. Their charcoal was smaller in quantity but purer, ideal for delicate metalwork and Damascus steel, famed for its resilience and beauty. Here, charcoal was not only fuel but a part of the metal's soul, feeding the fires that shaped weapons of legend. Farther east, in China, Korea, and Japan, charcoal making reached an art form. The Japanese Binchotan process, using airtight clay kilns and oak wood, produced a pale, almost white charcoal of extraordinary purity. It burned so cleanly that it could be used indoors without smoke. In Korea, similar methods created long, dense sticks used for cooking and heating ondel floors. Despite their differences, one truth united them all: the mastery of patience. Whether on snowy mountains or under desert stars, each culture discovered the same secret: that strength is born from restraint, and true fire does not roar, it hums. Charcoal was never just about warmth or craft. It was a dialogue between humankind and nature. It taught people to listen to the rhythm of fire, to understand that destruction could be transformed into creation. Every spark that glowed within those earthen mounds carried the same lesson: endurance through control, strength through stillness. In a world where winter could kill and darkness felt endless, charcoal was hope made visible. It represented the bond between forest and hearth, between those who laboured unseen and those who lived by their work. Across Europe, Persia, and Asia, the art of charcoal making revealed something deeply human: the will to survive without conquering, to create warmth without waste. Even today, when furnaces roar with modern fuels, the old wisdom lingers, in the soft crackle of a fire, in the scent of wood turned to carbon, in the calm patience of those who watch and wait. Charcoal was the first whisper of industry, the quiet genius of people who learned to master the elements with nothing but intuition. It burned not to destroy but to endure, a black flame that kept humanity alive through the long medieval night.